Okay, so number 15, you're definitely going to need some room. I actually had to take a screenshot of this and put it in its own document. So you might want to use your notebook for this one because there will be quite a bit of, not work, but organization, and then there has to be some writing. So number 15 says the table shows the minimum and maximum, that means the lowest and the highest elevations, relative to sea level. We talked in class about zero, meaning zero sometimes if you're talking about sea level, or zero is just basically in reference to where we started in the problem, or what we're comparing the other numbers to, the other integers. So in this case, sea level actually would be 0 feet. This is of a couple different hiking trails, 3 different hiking trails. It says, which hiking trail has the least change in elevation? So basically it's the flattest trail, the one that has the least change from the lowest to the highest point in relation to sea level. And then this part we don't really like to do, even myself I don't like to do it, but we're going to use relevant vocab to help us. It's going to be a mini race response. But in order to explain how we solved it, we have to solve it first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Eastern Point Trail, and I'm just going to abbreviate that. All right, I'm going to make it, over here I'm going to put Eastern Point. The lowest elevation of Eastern Point is negative 85, but we're trying to find how far it is, or the distance, from the lowest point to the highest point. We talked a lot in class about how distance is never negative. So if you were to look at this, we're going to use the absolute value bars. That means how far would somebody on this trail have to hike from the bottom of the trail, and I'll draw a little picture. If this was sea level right here, which would be 0 feet, the bottom of this hiking trail goes down here. Right, so let's say the bottom of this hiking trail is at negative 85 feet. How far would this hiker have to walk to travel up here? It would be positive 85. So we're going to use absolute value to show that. All right, let me erase that. That was just a visual representation to show you what we're talking about. All right, but these bars mean 85. If this hiker had to travel 85 feet up to sea level, now they're at 0, they still have to get to the top of the hiking trail, or the highest elevation, which is 78. That means we're going to add 78, and we could put that in bars too, because the bars mean absolute value, which means the distance from 0. So the hiker would have to travel 85 feet just to get to 0, which would be sea level, plus another 78 feet. If we add those together, you get 163 feet total change in elevation. So 163 feet. That's the Eastern Point Trail. Now I'm going to, I might as well make this like a triple T chart here. All right, we have the Eastern Point Trail. Now we're going to do the Northern Star. Same thing. The Northern Star is well below sea level, at least the lowest point. But you notice the highest point isn't very far above sea level. But we would have to change these. So that means we would have to travel 150 feet from the lowest point to get to 0, and then from 0 to the highest point, we would add those together, and the Northern Star Trail has a total change in elevation of 184 feet. So as of right now, the Eastern Point Trail has the least change in elevation, but we still have to do the Southern Moon Trail. We did these two, we gotta finish the Southern Moon. Southern Moon, 62 feet below sea level is the lowest point. We get back to sea level, now we have to add how far it is to get to the top, or the highest elevation. That's going to be 62 feet to get there, plus 48 means that that's going to be 110 feet change in elevation, which is the least. So now we have to do our favorite part, and we have to explain how we solved it using the vocab that we know we should use. So if you need to, you can pause this video right now to make sure that you're caught up with these 3 things. I'm going to erase this, even though you should not erase your work. You should just write it below it. But just to make this easy, I'm going to erase this and I'm going to write the explanation right here. So go ahead and pause this if you need to catch up. And then when you're ready, go ahead and hit play. So to explain how we solved it, I would use a race response like I said. Remember, restate the question, answer it, cite some evidence, explain how you knew it. Your evidence and explaining is going to be the vocab, all right? So let's answer the question first. The Southern Moon Trail had the least change in elevation. I found the absolute value, which is what they're looking for, because that's what the whole lesson's about, and that's the vocab. I found the absolute value of the lowest point of each trail and added the absolute value, absolute value of the highest point for each trail. The Southern Moon Trail only had a change in elevation of 110 feet total, which is less than the other, can't fit it, but I would put other trails. Now I know, again, same thing that we've talked about in class. That is a lot of writing, it's a lot of work. I wouldn't say it's a lot of work, but it's definitely a lot of organization. But if you really look at it, you should underline the most important vocabulary terms, and that should be good to go.